Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Juliana and today we're going to be talking about the gene keys and the human design gates, specifically gate or gene key 30. This transit is happening between February 14th and February 18th, 2023. And it's an opportunity, if you do not have this defined in any of your charts, it's an opportunity for you to tap into those energies and see how they impact you as we collectively move through the shadows into the gifts or the higher expression of these archetypal energies as a collective. So I'm going to start on the human design side and then I'll move over to the gene keys. So gate 30 is in the emotional solar plexus and it connects to the root through gate 41. This is part of the collective circuit and it's kind of on the cusp between Aquarius and Pisces in astrology. In quantum human design, this gate is named passion, and the gate name in traditional human design is the gate of feelings, and in the I Ching, this hexagram is called the clinging fire. So through those names, you can tell there's a lot of passion and heat, which makes it quite appropriate that it falls around Valentine's Day, where we in this world, in this Western world at least, see it as love, right? It's a time to love. So just a reminder that even if you don't have this gate defined in your chart, you're going to at different times of the transit, so during this time, or when you're around people with this gate, you're going to get flavors and tastes of it. So just remember that. This doesn't, if you don't have it defined, it doesn't mean that you don't have this energy. It means that it's not a consistent energy representation in your life right now, in this lifetime. So if you have this gate, and I have this gate in my unconscious moon, and you probably love to try new things. You probably get really passionate about things and have a lot of drive. And then you might have some highs and lows associated to what you're passionate about. You might struggle with burnout at times or leaping too quickly. So as we move through this transit, the question I have for you is, what are you dreaming or envisioning for yourself and the world? And can you tap into sustainability and trust in right timing as you wait for that dream to unfold, as you actively wait for that dream to unfold, right? So you do the things that need to be done when the time is right, but you're not pushing to try to make things happen. And then my next question is, what are you passionate about and how can you cultivate that passion through a sustainable practice? So instead of deciding that you want to learn all about herbal medicine, instead of staying up all night studying and spending thousands of dollars that you don't have trying to learn all you can, how can you sustainably begin to learn this? So instead of burning yourself out, burning out your resources, how can you learn at a pace that is correct for you? So on the shadow side of gate 30, you got burnout. I know that so well. I know burnout because I can, for example, if I decide I want to create something new or I'm learning something new, I can really feel the fire of it, even though I'm a projector and I've got an open sacral, I've got a defined root and this gate 30 and I'm a third line. And so I have this real energy for learning. And what can happen is I can push myself. It's like I push myself past my capacity. And then, when you get that second wind and then you can't rest and you can't fall asleep, that's kind of what happens. And so then after, for me, a few days of doing this, I burn out, I get bitter, I throw it all away. That's kind of how the shadow of gate 30 has played out for me in my life. On the other side of this shadow, there's also this impatience and not waiting for right timing. So really trying to push things through to completion, trying to get things going before you have all the pieces. It can also look like leaping into chaos, not knowing where you're going to jump, not knowing where you're going to land. And it can feel like life is a continuous trial and error. As I just turned 41 in November, and I built my therapy practice. The way I would describe it was just kind of throwing spaghetti at a wall. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of trying everything and anything. And it worked. It created something for me, for sure. But as I'm transitioning, I'm in this growth phase and transitioning phase with my business, I really intentionally decided I didn't want to throw spaghetti at a wall anymore. I wanted to take deliberate action and stoke my passion for what I'm here to do. And I'll tell you, until recently, it's been a struggle. It's been this like doubting myself, feeling impatient, feeling like I'm never going to have the answer. And what it's really taken was me to really sustainably hold the vision, sustainably understand by getting enough rest, by having fun, by playing, right? That the inspiration would come in right timing, and the action and the energy to create the action would come in right timing. And so on the full expression of this gate 30, it's the ability to sustain that dream, your dream, until it unfolds and manifests. And this is what I feel like the last 6 months or so have really been this learning for me. How do I sustain my dream? How do I sustain my passion for what I love without burning out? And then when you have the ability to sustain that, you also inspire others with your vision and your passion. And you inspire others to feel passionate about their own things. So on the gene key side, Richard Red named this overarching name of this gene key a celestial fire. I love his language. He is really a poet and a mystic, he is. And this gene key is all about the desire, about teaching us through experiences. So in order for us to learn and understand our environment, we have to taste these aspects of it. And it's this hunger for experience in order to, I would say, evolve. Right? Experience tells us what's working and what doesn't. You can read everything in the books about something. But for example, until I started filming these videos, I could only conceptualize what it's like. And as I film these videos, they change all the time because I am kinesthetically feeling what it's like to learn this, what it's like to talk about something that I'm very passionate about. And that hunger for new experience is what pushes us to evolve. Right. So the shadow side of this gene key is desire. And desire is normal, right? We're humans. We desire things. That's a very normal part of our experience. That's, again, what pushes us to have new experiences and to evolve. But on the shadow side, desire is a type of grasping for something, addiction, or it's a pushing. It's an attachment. It's a need or a push. And it's the reaction to what we want, and then also what happens when it does or doesn't arise that stimulates this shadow. So the shadow of desire is stimulated when we have a reaction to what we want, and then we either get it or we don't, right? There's an attachment to whether it comes to us or not. And so desire is played out by taking what we want too seriously, by repressing it, doubting it, or controlling it. So there's a lot of, like, if you think of passion, I think there's some joy in passion, right? If you watch a child, and I often go back to the idea of children, because children have just begun to be conditioned by the world, right? And the systems that they grow up in. And so if you think of a child like my nephew, who is passionate about dinosaurs right now, right? He loves dinosaurs, everything to do with dinosaurs. There's so much play and joy in that. And so on the shadow side of desire, it's serious, right? We take things so seriously, and I have been there, right? Even when I started doing these videos, it was like, okay, I got to do this. I'm learning to relax in this and see this as a bit of play, because I love it and I want joy to be expressed in this, and that our experiences are just our experiences. Or desire can play out by repressing it, right? We deny what we want, and at the end of the day, we're stifling it, we're pushing it down. It's also played out when we continually try to fulfill this desire, as though it's trying to, it's like we're trying to fill something inside of us. And that can be seen through sex, food, drugs, alcohol, relationships, jobs, money, working out, when we're looking for something to fill us up. So the journey from the shadow to the gift of lightness is quite a paradox, because there's no actual way for the mind to truly understand how to do this. So this is the image that came to me when I was thinking about this journey between the two. Is imagine you're riding a horse, right? And even if you want to, you can do this right now. You can close your eyes and just take a minute and breathe. And feel your bum connected to the object underneath you, whatever object is holding up your body right now. Take a few breaths, just come into your breathing. And then imagine yourself on a horse, on the back of a beautiful horse. This horse might be a black stallion, it might be white, it might be a unicorn, whatever it is. Imagine yourself riding on a horse, bareback, there's no saddle. And this horse represents life. Right now, what you're doing on the back of this horse is you're grasped its mane and you're holding on for dear life. You're trying to control everything that happens, right? And so now, as you're riding along and you're grasping the mane of this horse and your thighs are squeezing against the torso of this horse, I want you to imagine that your thighs are very strong and they gently wrap around the midsection of the horse. And then ever so slowly, you release your fingers. And maybe you release the mane completely. And then you're just feeling yourself now riding with the horse. You are still an active participant because you're hanging on to the torso with your thighs. Right? You're letting the horse know maybe when to slow down or speed up with your thighs. But now the horse actually is moving where it wants to. You become one with the horse. You become a entity that is moving together. And essentially you're merging with life. Just imagining that feeling, really sense that. What's that like to relinquish control? And instead of fighting against life, you decide to lean into it. Good. Let me know what that was like for you, imagining that. And so what happens there in this paradox, in this journey from the shadow to the gift, is we shift which mind we use. So we have different minds, right? We don't just have this logical mind. We also have this higher mind, sometimes known as witness, as witness consciousness. And so when you're riding the horse and you let go of the mane, it's kind of like you step into witness consciousness. And the act of letting go of the mane is going, the logical mind is not going to be leading the show anymore. You lean back into this witness. You lean back into this knowing that you're not alone and that you're connected to something much greater than you. And so lightness, the gift of lightness, is about knowing that you are an important part in the unfolding of life. And that whatever unfolds, right, whatever you come in contact with as you're riding on the back of that horse is perfection. It's not good or bad no matter what happens. It's perfect. And so it's about seeing both your uniqueness and how your uniqueness shapes the collective. And at the same time, seeing that you are as common as a leaf on an oak tree. So it's both. You are divinely unique in your expression of what your soul came here to do as a human being in this lifetime. But at the same time, you are part of Source and are just like everyone else around you. Kind of a bit of it's a mind fuck a little bit, right? We are both special and not at the same time. And so in this gift of lightness, when we can embody that, when we can go, I am a part of the divine. I am directly connected to divinity and the universe and the quantum field. And yet no one is different than me except for my own personal human expression. Right? There's this thing that happens where we go, oh, maybe I can have what I want. Maybe I still have that desire, but you're no longer in reaction to it because it doesn't control you. Because you're seeing the bigger picture of things. You're seeing the truth of things. And it's really a knowing and felt sense. You've got to experience it. You've got to really have that experience. What was it that happened the other day? I was in yoga. So I practiced yoga since about 2007. Different kinds, but mostly Ashtanga yoga. And at the beginning, I used to practice Bikram yoga, hot yoga. And where I live now, there's no Ashtanga. And so I decided I really wanted just to get the energy of a studio, and I was really craving heat. So I've gone to this local hot yoga studio. And I have found over the years that the yoga studio on my mat is where I am most confronted with my shadows. Through comparison, through thinking that I need to push, through not loving myself in where I am. And this one day I was feeling quite tired. And as I've learned to work with my projector energy, I'm really learning to honor it more, even though I can feel the sacral energy coming through my body and it almost gives me the energy to keep pushing. And I have stopped practicing many times on my yoga mat where I'm either exhausted or overcome with emotions or just pissed off at the practice, and I lie down or I go into child's pose or I stand in tree pose. And this day, I went down into child's pose because I was actually really tired. And I know now the difference between the sacral energy that's pushing me and where my kind of line is, and really learning to discern that for myself. And I lay down on my mat with my forehead down on my mat. And I had this overcoming sense of incredible compassion and pride for myself. Because that moment of choosing to go into child's pose in yoga, I was getting this felt sense of what it was like to truly love myself. Now, I have understood this intellectually, especially on the yoga mat for so long, right? But I have not really understood this knowing, this felt sense. And it took this willingness to continue experimenting and being really in touch with what was going on for me, right? This willingness to experiment, this willingness to try new things, right? This passion, this gene key is about trying. It's about understanding. It's about experience. It's about learning through experience. And so when you tap into that gift of lightness, that was what I felt at that moment, right? I still felt that passion for my practice. I still felt that passion for myself, but it suddenly became joyful. It suddenly became this moment where I laid there and I was like, wow, here I am doing what I have been reading about for 15 years. I'm finally understanding what it's like to live honoring myself and my energy without the conditioning. And this is the joy at the unfolding of life. I would not have known that would have been my experience on that day, on that yoga mat, in that room, right? I didn't know. It's this continually stepping through life and allowing life to unfold, just like riding on the back of the horse. Sometimes you don't know where you're going to end up. You are still a very conscious part of that unfolding of life, but sometimes you don't know what the experiences are going to be there. And that's what lightness is about. It's about seeing the mystical in the ordinary. It's about laughing at the silliness of life. It's about seeing the humor in it all. And so in this gift of lightness, this is where we connect to the desire to end our own suffering, to be free of that incessant push and pull and needing to be something, right? That's what I tapped into that day on my yoga mat. And so how can you use this energy during this transit? So check in with your longing and your desires. Check in and see if there's this pushing energy happening or this pulling energy happening. And ask yourself if you've become attached to a specific outcome, how it's going to look, when it's going to happen by, right? You see this a lot in manifestation teachings these days. There's this, I'm going to have this by this date. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. The universe doesn't work like that. It's only humans that have a timeline, right? Everything else that is energy exists beyond our human timeline frequency. So see if you can become unattached to a specific outcome, a specific time. And check in with your passion. Are you stifling your passion because you don't believe it's logical or feasible? And see if you can practice moving into the higher mind. So one of the ways to do this is kind of not moving into the higher mind, but it's moving into your heart, which is kind of what I see as the higher mind as well. So what I would encourage you to do is start breathing. You can close your eyes and take a few breaths. And then another 2. And then on your next inhale, I want you to imagine your heart like a third lung. And so as you breathe in, you inhale and your heart expands just like your other 2 lungs. And as you exhale, your heart relaxes. So you breathe like this a few times with each inhale, your heart expanding, and then your heart relaxing. And then as you're focused on the mind, right? You're focused on the mind right now. I want you to see if you can move your awareness even, as you're focused on the heart, move yourself even more into your heart center. See if you can drop your awareness into your heart and then breathe there for about 5 breaths. Good. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. If you like this video, I would really appreciate if you liked, shared, or subscribed. Wishing you the most beautiful day and time during this transit.